Imagine this. A rule is updated tonight and tomorrow morning. The chips that serve as the fuel for the world's most powerful AI either arrive late, become more expensive, or simply don't ship without a license. No shots are fired. Yet data center plans collapse, startup investment maps shift, and national security doctrines get rewritten. This new era has a name, AI Cold War, and the weapon in this war is not missiles, but computing power. The central question in this story is not who wrote the smartest model. The real question is, who amassed more compute? Because AI advantage in the real world means GPUs, servers, electricity, networks, and the most critical choke point of all, advanced semiconductors. A model idea can come from anywhere, but what turns it into world-scale power is the scale of compute behind it. That's why the US-China rivalry has evolved from a technology race into an industrial and geopolitical race. The hard phase of this competition begins with specific dates. The U.S. Department of Commerce's Bureau of Industry and Security, BIS, tightened export controls on advanced computing chips and semiconductor manufacturing in packages dated October 7, 2022 and October 17, 2023. Often described as moments when the door started closing. The logic is cold. The most powerful AI systems rely on the most powerful chips. If you restrict a rival's access to cutting-edge chips and to the equipment needed to produce them, you slow the rival down. This is not open warfare. It's a war of choking speed. Now, the first wow fact: the target isn't only the chip itself, it's the factory ecosystem that produces the chip. A clear line appears in U.S. congressional CRS materials. After BIS restrictions, NVIDIA announces China-tailored chips. After A800, H800 come H20, L20, L2, and as controls tighten, even these adaptations become targets again. In other words, this is no longer a normal market. Products are designed not purely around technology, but around geopolitical limits. From here, the story splits into three fronts, and each front changes the price, power, and accessibility of the AI you'll use tomorrow. Front 1, chips and chip-making tools, choke points. The game is no longer just, I won't sell it to you, but I'll make it harder for you to operate it. In a February 11, 2026 Reuters report, U.S. lawmakers call for tighter controls on China's access to advanced chip-making tools, and the most critical detail is the push to also restrict service and technical support for equipment already installed in China. The message goes beyond, I won't sell you new tools, to, I'll also cut the service. That helps the tools you already have keep working. And allies enter this front too. In 2023, ASML confirms the Dutch government's additional export controls. Details include licensing regimes for the most advanced immersion DUV lithography systems, with the new rules set to take effect on September 1, 2023. This is a real episode showing that choke point strategy is not a single country decision, but alliance coordination. Front 2, building at home, money plus conditions. This war isn't fought only through restrictions, it's also fought by construction. In the US, the CHIPS and Science Act is widely cited for a package around $52.7 billion to support semiconductor manufacturing, R&D, and workforce development. But the colder detail is this, that money is not unconditional. In a March 21, 2023 U.S. Department of Commerce outline, national security guardrails are described that restrict certain expansions in foreign countries of concern, including the PRC, for recipients of CHIPS incentives. The state is effectively saying, I'll help you build factories, but I'll also set conditions on where the power those factories create is allowed to flow. Front 3, counter pressure in the supply chain, materials. China also looks for choke points, because in this war, the choke point is not only chips. Materials like gallium and germanium are considered critical in the semiconductor ecosystem, and in July 2023, China's MOFCOM briefings discuss export controls related to these materials, framed not as a total ban, but as a licensing and export control approach. It's a signal. If you control chips, I can create pressure elsewhere in the chain. The battlefield here is paperwork and regulations, but the results show up in real company sales. In a February 4, 2026 Reuters report, the Lutnick administration is described as discussing licensing conditions, such as know your customer type requirements, for H200 sales to buyers in China, including in a ByteDance context. And in a February 10, 2026 Reuters report, Lutnick says in a Senate hearing that NVIDIA must live with strict licensing guardrails for H200 sales to China. This is not just a sale, it's a political mechanism built around who the buyer is, the intended use, and risk scenarios. So why won't China stop? Because this isn't a new trend. China's State Council 2017 document, the New Generation Artificial Intelligence Development Plan, maps goals through 2030, positioning them as a strategic national roadmap, not the ambition of a few companies, but a long-term state plan. And the very real side of that plan is stated openly. In a February 11, 2026 Reuters report, Premier Li Qiang emphasizes coordinating electricity and computing resources to support AI advancement. That isn't a tech slogan, it's the formula, AI Huan's energy plus compute infrastructure. Why call this a Cold War? Because the visible scene is quiet, but behind the scenes, everything changes. Which chips can go where? Which equipment can be sold to whom? Which companies can expand in which markets? And where data centers can be built? Victory doesn't always appear as a headline. One day it simply feels like this: AI got more expensive, or weaker, or slower to update. AI is no longer an app, it's infrastructure and power. And when something becomes infrastructure, two outcomes are hard to avoid. First, the global AI market may function less like a single ecosystem and more like a fragmented ecosystem, the same service offering different capability levels in different regions at different prices, with some features open in one place but limited elsewhere. Second, the question, who will build the most powerful AI, turns into who has cheaper electricity, bigger data centers, and a stronger semiconductor supply chain. Because when compute is expensive, AI is expensive. When compute is abundant and cheap, AI spreads everywhere. The sharpest line to remember is this: in this era, the winner is not the one who writes the best model, but the one who can compute the most and who has the power to block or open the pathways to that computation. And the most unsettling idea is this: the war doesn't end, it only changes shape. Today it's chips. Tomorrow it's service. Next it's raw materials. Then it's standards and rules. And the results show up in your phone, your job, advertising, education, in daily tools. AI will either be cheap and powerful or expensive and limited. That is the core question of the AI Cold War. Will the intelligence power of the future be a product of the free market or a strategic resource granted through licensing?